Kunjabihari
Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaridhari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaridhari Suranandana Radhajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaridhari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaridhari Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai
Talavana ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Is there any recent word on Jagataka Maharaj's condition?
It's all
He's
outside.
still in surgery.
Yes.
They're working on the kidney. No news is good news. Like at any moment, I expect to get some word that it's finished and everything's fine.
But the liver part has been done already?
That one's done. About 5 o'clock this morning, you've been in surgery between 6 and 7 hours, and the liver was transplanted and functioning even, and
So I noticed one thing this morning. In Mayapur, they were doing like a continuous kind of Nishinga Day Puja, and then they'd stop and they'd make some announcement. And like at one point, actually, when I turned it on, they read a letter. First, they read it in Bengali, and then in English from Ridananda. Offering.
Yeah, that was really nice. And the Ranjana Maharaj, if you run across that one, his was really heartfelt. It just brings tears to your eyes.
So what I wanted to know, though, is there was a crawl going across the screen, and it said, Harinam Kirtan for His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, and I think it said Sudarshan Varga or Sudarshan Vaga or Yaga. So I was wondering if that's Jagya. Is that person donating the kidney or?
No, like a jagya to the Sudarshan.
Oh!
That would protect that. I mean, that's what I got out of it.
Oh, because it said a Harinam Kirtan for the health of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, and then it said Sudarshan something.
It doesn't sound like they were also going to do a jagya. I saw a part of a jagya that they were doing to the Sudarshan.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, that they were also doing a hotra ceremony. So maybe that's what I was because I was wondering if that meant that because it was a kidney, you can. So but anyway, that's really good news.
I get the idea that the both organs came from the same donor and that it was a cadaver, or he was a cadaver, and Guru Maharaj has a rare, not rare, but not common blood type,
yes.
B positive, and so that's why they have been having to wait so long, and so I'm like almost 100% sure that that's how it rolls.
Oh, I got it. All right, I understand.
And the surgeon somebody put something about him from Wikipedia. Like he's supposed to be like the most renowned liver surgeon in the world. He's a Muslim man, but he's visited Mayapur and obviously favorable. I was just meditating a little bit on this seva that those two people did today. The donor and the surgeon, like just.
It was a team of surgeons. I think that's
a team
with the main,
for sure.
the main surgeon orchestrating everything. But I know, from my recent experiences, that it takes a lot of backup people as well.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's well orchestrated.
So grateful, to those.
Yeah.
Like we've been praying even for the Lord to please guide and direct them,
Yeah.
Such an
That's the right kind of prayer.
service.
I just hope this all works out for the best. I mean, the best thing is that Jayapataka Maharaj is back to, that gets past this hurdle, and we have him around for at least another 20 years, 25 years.
And I mean, it wouldn't be unreasonable to just expect them to actually get a new lease on life because the organs are failing, you're not doing too well, so
right.
he could really, just
right.
make it come.
Exactly. That means you get it's like a rebuilt engine, you got another 100,000 miles.
Right.
So, but then any little mosquito can come along and spoil. Okay. Anyway, here's to good health and successful preaching from Jayapataka Maharaj. We all pray that this day is auspicious for his health. So, better late than never. He missed all the nectar. It was a huge kirtan. Gornitai came down here off the altar. Actually, Krishna started playing the flute. Radharani was dancing very beautifully. The 6 Goswamis all were chanting, except Narada Muni made a guest appearance. So, and then it just ended, 30 seconds ago? So you can probably still feel the energy in the air.
Yeah.
So,
Supercharged.
yeah. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Chaiva Naruttamam.
Naram Chaiva Naruttamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswati Vyasam.
Tatam Jayam Mudiriye.
Tato Jayam Mudiraye.
before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of God, Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, the founder, Acharya, and our spiritual master who brought the Srimad Bhagavatam across the great ocean to the Malechas. Hare Krishna. The land of the Malechas. Which it's chapter 16, that's called how Parikshit received the age of Kali, and the verse is 7, right?
Yes.
So, okay. Sudra Yusam Nirnam Anga Sudra Yusam Nirnam Anga. You know, I just want to say this happened this morning. I normally play the Narayana Kavacha Shield every morning. So this morning I came in after bathing Prabhupada, Chota Prabhupada, and came back and I turned on a lecture of Srila Prabhupada's. And then I paused it for a second to go in the back room, and then all of a sudden the computer starts doing the Narayana Kavacha Shield. Just chanting it. I hadn't turned it on.
Wow.
It just happened. And because also I forgot to give my deities water this morning, the water power went down. When I went back and put the water, gave the deities the water came.
Hare Krishna.
Lord Chaitanya was sending me some messages. Get on it. So, little miracles. Marchanam Vritam Ichitam Marchanam Vritam Ichitam Iho Pahuto Bhagavan Iho Pahuto Bhagavan It's not that bad.
It's dyslexic all by itself.
Mrityu Samitra Karmani Mrityu Samitra Karmani Sudra Yusam Nirnam Anga Marchanam Vritam Ichtatam Iho Puto Bhagavan Mrityu Samvitra Kamani Sudra Yusam Nrinam Anga Mrityanam Vritam Ichchatam Iho Puto Bhagavan Mrityu Samvitra Karmani Sudra Yusam Nrinam Anga Marchanam Vritam Ichchatam Iho Puto Bhagavan Mrityu Samvitra Karmani. Anyone?
Go ahead. Shudraya Samrinamanga
Sudra Yusam Nirnamanga
Marjanam Vitamichatam
Marjanam Vritam Ichchatam
Ihopa Huto Bhagavan
Iho Puto Bhagavan
Mrityu Shamitra Karmani
Machajanam dinam anga.
Machanamritavichatam.
Machanamritavichatam.
Ihopahuto Bhagavan.
Ihopahuto Bhagavan.
Vidyusamitra karmani.
Vidyusamitra karmani. Machanamritavichatam. Ihopahuto Bhagavan. Vidyusamitra karmani. So, hey. Okay, well, you two decide. Sutra, very small.
Very small.
Ayusam,
Ayusam,
of the duration of life.
a duration of life.
Nirnam,
Nirnam,
of the human beings.
of the human beings.
Anga,
Anga,
O Sutta Goswami.
O Sutta Goswami.
Marjanam,
Majanam,
of those who are sure to meet death.
of those who are sure to be dead.
Is anyone here sure of that? Oh, I see by hands of we're all, yeah. So, we all have something in common. Ritam, eternal life.
Eternal life.
Yeah, we have that in common too. Ichyatam,
Ichatam,
of those who desire it.
of those who desire.
Iha,
Iha,
herein,
herein.
upahuta,
Upahuta,
called for being present.
call for being present.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
representing the Lord.
representing the Lord.
Rityu,
Mrityu,
the controller of death.
the controller of death.
Yamaraj.
Yamaraj.
Samitra,
Samrita,
suppressing.
suppressing.
Karmani,
Harmony,
performances.
performances.
So the translation by Srila Prabhupada.
God, Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, Sutta Goswami, there are those amongst men who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death Yamaraj. So now I'll say, then you repeat, please. Oh, Sutta Goswami,
Oh, Sutta Goswami.
there are those amongst men
There are those amongst men
and women who desire freedom
who desire freedom
from death
from death
and get eternal life.
and get eternal life.
They escape
But they escape
the slaughtering process
the slaughtering process
by calling the controller
by calling the controller
of death
of death.
Yamaraj.
Yamaraj.
The divine purport of His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The living entity, as he develops from lower animal to a higher human being and gradually to higher intelligence, becomes anxious to get free from the clutches of death. Modern scientists try to avoid death by physiochemical advancement of knowledge. But alas, the controller of death, Yamaraj, is so cruel that he does not spare even the very life of the scientist himself. The scientist who puts forward the theory of stopping death by advancement of scientific knowledge becomes himself a victim of death when he is called by Yamaraj. What to speak of stopping death? No one can enhance the short period of life even for a fraction of a moment. The only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamaraj is to call him to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. Let me read that again. The only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamaraj is to call him to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. We just have to invite him to come to our kirtans. Yamaraj is a great devotee of the Lord. He likes to be invited to kirtans and sacrifices by the pure devotees. So all of you can invite him. I don't think I'm qualified. But thus the great sages headed by Shranaka and others, invited Yamaraj to attend the sacrifice performed at Namasharanya. This was good for those who did not want to die. So Yamaraj was present in Namasharanya, and they invited him so that they could fully concentrate and not be worried about death, about some unexpected. While he's there, he's a part of it, we're all. So the verse again is Sudra Yusam Nirnam Anga Marjanam Vritam Ichitam Iho Pahuto Bhagavan Mrityu Samitra Karmani. O Sutta Goswami, there are those amongst men who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death Yamaraj. So, actually, I heard a lecture Prabhupada gave. Sudra Ayusha, very small duration of life. So, it's all relative. In all the different species throughout creation and on all the planetary systems, our lifespans are relative. There are those microorganisms that may live for moments or minutes. What? You what? Okay. I'm sorry. Did I say something or what?
No, she was trying to close the door so the sounds from in there didn't disturb.
Oh, I see. Okay. I couldn't hear because there was sounds from there.
That's all right.
So anyway, there are insects that live, for one day. There's that one, if you've ever, here in the South, and I was at one point engaged in, driving like a 15-foot box truck that was the color white and has a big top like this, over the cab. And these love bugs, they're black and they're joined together. So they live for one day and they're engaged in intimate relations with one another for one day, and then they die. But they only get one day. But a lot of them, will end up if you're driving down the highway, there's so many of them. Especially if they're attracted to the color white. And they just, bam! It's literally, you have hundreds of them, or like a whole layer of them, trying to get it off. The truck is a major endeavor. You have to, and then the smell from them is, there's so many, and then Prabhupada talks about a fly, some type of fly in India. He called it Dwali something. And he says that at night, first there'll be just one or two of them. And then there'll be dozens. And then as the night progresses, there's hundreds. Then there's thousands. By the end of the night, there's heaps of millions of them, and they're all dead. They live for one night. It's a special little fly, and that's their lifespan. Ants, their lifespan is very short. So they're, and then for us, we have a lifespan that possibly. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I think I could use it. So then our lifespan at most in this age of Kali Yuga is approximately 100 years, give or take a decade or two. And then you go to the heavenly planets, and the moon planet, one of their days equals 6 months of our time, and they live for 10,000 years of that kind of joint, based on that calculation of 6 months to a day. So it is a very long lifespan, but that's nothing compared to what happens to the higher and even higher, and then finally Brahmaloka. His life is like a billion or trillion years. I don't remember the actual number, but it's mind-boggling. It might as well be eternal, but it's not. death is always hanging over everyone's head. It's what we all fear. This is what this world is called. And Marchaloka also, here Prabhupada refers to it as Mrityu-loka, which means also death. And so, and this is the actual aim, should be the aim of the human civilization. The goal of the human civilization should be to find a solution to this repetition of birth, disease, old age, and death. And they actually do try. They're really, the scientists with their, as Prabhupada mentioned, says he calls it the physiochemical maneuvering. And then now they are employing sort of, technology so that they can replace certain limbs and other parts of the body, so that if those are destroyed, you can have an artificial limb, and then we'll be able to transplant so many things. And I heard them actually about a year ago on NPR saying that soon we will no longer need the mythological gods of our ancestors and the scriptures, and we will guarantee you through science a lifespan of 150 years. What is that? And what kind of life is it? Because they even said that there'll only be for a select group of people can afford this kind of life. So they'll always be afraid of the masses of people that will be so jealous and envious. Or anything. You'll be afraid to walk outside. There was the famous billionaire Howard Hughes. He became so paranoid, even of germs, that because he feared death, and he knew. Well, he didn't know what death meant, but he knew that right now he had it pretty good, at least monetarily. And the interesting thing is, in his life, what he had invested an enormous amount of money in scientific research and specifically in medical research. And he also was in aeronautics, and he built some of the fastest jets in the world. And he had a private jet that at that time was the fastest personal private jet. And he was in flight to a hospital, I believe, somewhere in Houston or somewhere in Texas. One of his laboratories that had the right kind of dialysis that would have saved or extended his life, but he missed it by an hour. He was flying at the fastest speed possible. So you cannot escape it. I mean, there's so many examples that you can give of the irony of people and their attempts to overcome death. Like, there was someone back in the mid-70s started the jogging phase, running. And it was even asked of Prabhupada, they're saying that by running they can increase their life, but you say, in one of the purports, he said that our lifespans are allotted not in time, but in breaths. That's why the yogis practice breath control, and they can extend their lives. I mean, there are yogis right now that could be 300 years old, 500. I heard there was one like 800 years old, around the time of Prabhupada's departure, who greeted some Gurukulis right after that, and wanted them to know that he appreciated the work of Srila Prabhupada. And he'd been living for 800 years. And Prabhupada warned the devotees at the first Kumbh Mela to be very careful. There are very powerful yogis here. And they've lived a very long time. But even after all these years, they still haven't realized Vasudeva Sarvaniti, that Krishna is everything. Krishna is the goal. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. The first verse of the Brahma Samhita, as you were reading yesterday. And, to become deathless, why do we want to become deathless? Because we are deathless. Why do we want to be young all the time? Because we are young all the time. Why do we want knowledge? Because we are full of knowledge. These are our natural conditions, and that's why we are dissatisfied with this world. And we're constantly endeavoring to overcome the effects of being within this inferior energy, because we're marginal energy, which means we can be under the control of the divine energy, or under the control of the divine inferior energy, the material energy. But both are divine because they're all Krishna's energy. But we ourselves, we are also divine energy. Just one particle, a 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. I don't even know how you can possibly calculate something like that. But that is the size of the soul. And that is what's giving this body consciousness and life, movement, and animated. And that is when that particle leaves the body. That's what we call death. The body is already dead. It's dead matter. It's just that we are present. The soul is present, so we leave. And so there's lots of ways to it. I remember Prabhupada talking about Einstein. If he was such a wise scientist, why didn't he give his students the chemicals that at the time of his death, since we're all made of chemicals, here, just when I die, when I lose consciousness, just apply these chemicals at certain times and I'll come back. He had such a great brain. And they actually have, some people have even said things, I don't know if it's true or not, with these urban legends about how somebody has stolen his brain and they're analyzing the brain to see why he was so intelligent and everyone else's. Intelligence means to know the difference between matter and spirit. To know what is material and what is spiritual. That's intelligence. So, otherwise everything else is just, it's just a lot of, trivia. And so, a lot of facts and figures you cram in your head. The original root word of education is, I think it's Latin or Greek, educare, which means to uncover. Not to memorize, but to uncover that which you already know. To become self-realized, to realize the true self within. Know thyself. So, in this way, here it's being discussed that they invited Yamaraj to come. And actually, somebody I know very closely told me they had a dream recently. And they were at the feet of Yamaraj. They knew it was Yamaraj. In the dream, they knew they were paying obeisances, sort of almost like in a fetal position. And Yamaraj said, "Look up at me. Look at my face. Look me in the face." And they just stayed down there at his feet. They knew that Yamaraj was saying, "Look in my face." So, and there are stories also when the Sankirtan devotees first started going out with the Srimad Bhagavatam that had the paintings of the Yamadutas. There's one very famous story. In Chicago, the devotees who were approaching people with the Bhagavatam, they always would show pictures, and they still do this. You see them on YouTube. They'll show various, like if they're showing the Bhagavad Gita, they show the different stages of the body, the transmigration, painting, different things like that. And there was a painting of the Yamadutas. And this person had just had almost, like a near-death experience, but it wasn't one of those near-death experiences where they see a white light and a tunnel, and they're going down this white light to a tunnel. This person saw the Yamadutas. He said, "That's who I saw. They looked exactly like that." And he started shaking. He said, "That's who they were. They were coming for me." It's real. It's not. This isn't, just some mythology. This is real. I mean, you're doing Sankirtan, randomly going about, approaching everyone, and all of a sudden someone looks at the painting and goes, No, how do you know? How did you know? That's who they are. That's what they look like. They were coming for me. How do I get rid of them? He took a book. And hopefully, that was the beginning. That was the beginning. But there's the story when Ajamil is, Ajamil in his youth was a son of a Brahmin, and he had been trained up very nicely, and he was very devoted to Narayan. And by chance he happened to see a man and a prostitute engaged in illicit activity, and his mind became distracted. It's just like it's like an accident. You can't like look away. You just like, want to look, but you can't not look. And it grew on him, and he became more and more attached, and he searched out this prostitute. I mean, in those days, whatever age that was that Ajamil was living, there was just like, it was rare to see a prostitute. Now, they're everywhere. I mean, I'm not being disparaging towards women, but the way things are in our age now, or just turn on the internet, I mean, I thought that I had done something, because when on the internet you have your emails, and it says how many emails are in your inbox. And then spam used to say how many things are there. But I had cleaned it all out, and I never saw any numbers there for about 10 months. So I thought I had blocked it out, and there's no spam coming in. Then accidentally, I hit the spam, and all of a sudden I realized I've got a whole following of young women in Russia and in Asia, that whole area over there, where I'm really popular, and they all want to meet me. That's what's happening. That's what the internet's for. Of course, I also found the missing Langa Ganesh emails that I'm looking for. For some reason, it was going into my spam. I don't know why. Now I understand. But I don't know how I got so popular over there in Russia and Asia. But that's that's what the youth of today is faced with. I can't imagine having to grow up with that kind of pressure that you click on the machine and all of a sudden you're seeing scenes that are beyond inappropriate. And it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous world we're living in, a very dangerous time. This movement is extremely important. Book distribution is extremely important. Harinam Sankirtan is extremely important. Prasadam distribution is essential. Deity worship is essential. This process, this is a scientific process called Vaidhi Bhakti. And we're students of that. And just like when you go to a university and you want to get a degree, and you don't just want a degree. There's those students that come and they really are really serious about trying to become the best doctor and the best heart surgeon. And they really take it seriously, or they really want to understand the interpreting archaeological finds and understanding what is the real history of man. They take it very seriously. It's not just like they're trying to get a diploma and then get a job and then get the salary. They really want to know. It's called, there's a word for it. See, this is a symptom of old age. When you know the word and then it escapes you. But it's the kind of intelligence that is deliberate. It's deliberate intelligence. There's actually a verse in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I don't remember exactly. And Krishna is saying, those with deliberate intelligence, it might be like something like 323 or 333 or something like that. 313. I know there's 2 3s in the number. And I was reading it fairly recently. And it's explaining deliberate. In other words, I'm deliberately hearing the Bhagavatam. When I'm reading, I'm not just reading and like, and Sutta Goswami there are amongst men, and so you're just reading the words and you kind of understand, No, deliberately I'm trying to understand that there were those amongst them that wanted to be wanted freedom from death, so they invited Yamaraj. So I want to know who is Yamaraj. I want to understand. I want to know, how do I become free from death?
343.
343. Yeah. So what is the actual verse? How does it read?
Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust.
Exactly. Exactly. By deliberately chanting the holy names and meditating and hearing, not just, I gotta get these rounds done. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, no, say, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Actually, wanting to hear, wanting to know, absorbing the mind to become free from what? Lust. And there's a very nice story that Prabhu tells in relation to lust. I've heard it told different ways, but recently I was listening to a class by Prabhu, and he's told that there was an emperor, a Muslim emperor, maybe 500 years ago. Akbar or something, and he also had like ministers, just like in the Vedic civilization we know that like Parikshit Maharaj, he had his Brahmins who would advise him on how to rule based on the Shastra. So the Muslims have a similar kind of, at least back then, they had a similar approach towards government, and so the emperor asked this minister, when does the desire for sex, when does lust finally leave the body? And the minister said, never. He said, no, when you're old, like when the instrument isn't working anymore, it's dull, nothing's working. But surely then, he said, no. There's always the desire up till the time of death. And the emperor said, I can't accept that. That's just not possible. That's not possible. I mean, nothing. How can you have a desire for something that you can't even do? So he said, okay, I will prove it to you soon. So the emperor had enough faith in this minister. So some time passes, and then one day he comes in and says, Your Lordship, I would like you to come with me immediately, and please bring your beautiful young daughter with us. He said, what's going on? He said, soon you will understand. Just please come with me. So he takes the emperor with his daughter, the princess, and they go to this very poor man's abode, his place, and he's on the verge of death. So the minister walks in and announces to this man. Ordinarily, the emperor coming into his place would be like, this is the perfection of his existence. This is a great honor. The emperor is coming, and he's fully dressed with all the wealth of an emperor, and it's very impressive. And so you would think his eyes would be on the emperor coming. What an honor! I'm dying, and the emperor's here. But before they walked in, the minister said to the emperor, watch where his eyes go. Watch what he does, where he looks. So the emperor's studying him, and the entire time he's on the princess. He can't keep his eyes off the princess. And he's about to die. So then the emperor understands, yes, you're right. I remember actually, someone I know who was dying, a relative, and he said, they've taken everything from me. I used to be able to play the guitar, and the arthritis, I can't do that. I used to be able to play golf, I can't do that. I used to be able to eat certain foods and drink and be merry, and I can't do those things anymore. And now I can't even do, engage in sex life. What is there to live for? I have nothing to live for. I remember saying to him, was there anything, I was leaving, is there anything I can I can do for you? And he says, you can bring me a gun. He just wanted to die. He had no life. And so that's what happens when you get such a valuable prize, a valuable gift as a human form, and your timing is a little off. You get that human form just a little bit before it came to America, and you're too old to grasp it. I was thinking this morning when I said you were late, I was thinking, all of a sudden it dawned on me, I had this scenario for where somebody finally just shows up just as the last devotee is leaving the planet. At the end of the 10,000 years, he gets there, 30 seconds after the 10,000 years is up. I missed it. That would be the ultimate frustration, So, but we haven't missed it. We're here and we got it, and we should use it, and we should become deliberately chant. We should deliberately use our mind and intelligence to chant and be happy. Like, we should be happy. That's what's going to attract, the Prabhupada was talking with some priest, and I forget what country, and someone was telling me about this, reminded me about this the other day, and the priest was saying, these are all our young men and women. They should be sitting in our pews, but they're not. But they're all here, and they're all happy with you. And this is because, and Prabhupada says, because I'm giving them the real information. Like Prabhupada walked into this, there's a story in Australia, this is told in the memories by Churu. He was one of the first Prabhupada disciples to have some success in opening temples around the time, just a little bit before Madhavisa, and they were there simultaneously, they overlapped. And he was very good, he's very expert at booking engagements and dealing with the press. He's very expert at that, even now. And he had booked Prabhupada this one TV show in Australia that was kind of like the Alan Burke of Australia, what we were talking about, or was it Joe Prime or John Prime or somebody? Joe Prime, yeah. And, that kind of a person, but he was from Australia. And he just thought, Prabhupada, first of all, there was like a love seat for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, for some reason, brought a picture of, I think it was the picture, the beautiful picture, an older picture done in India, I forget the name of the artist, but it's, where Krishna's with a calf and a flute, sitting like, it looks like a 16-year-old young man, beautiful. Gopal Krishna, yes. And so Prabhupada sat down and he put the picture of Krishna on the chair. So this fellow thought, wow, this is great. I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna have him for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So he said, so that's your Hindu God? He said, no, he's not Hindu God. This is God. So, and this is what he looks like. Now, can you show me your God? Your Christian God? Can you tell me something about what he looks like? What he does? Where does he live? Do you have any information at all about the Christian God? And he was stumped. He was saying, actually, there's very little knowledge. He said, well, I can tell you everything. I can tell you what he looks like, what he likes to do. He likes to play the flute. He likes to take care of cows. He likes to play with his friends. He has all these different pastimes. He protects his devotees. I can tell you where he lives. I can tell you how to get there. So I have shown you my God. Now, you show me yours. And the guy was speechless. Totally speechless. It's not like we're just out to defeat people and humiliate people, unless they deserve it. But no, it's not like that. We're actually there to, what we need to do is somehow or other strain our brains to think on how we can make Krishna consciousness relevant and make it attractive. It's already all attractive, but we have to be, the only way we can attract others is to be good practitioners of the process. We're not going to be fanatics. We're going to be very sincere, deliberately, intelligently studying Prabhupada's books, deliberately chanting the Hare Krishna mantra with full concentration, and not having to, try to play a part, that it will naturally come, the qualities of a devotee. That is our goal. And we can give deathlessness to people, we can give them freedom from fear, anxiety, attachment, delusion, everything. We, not representing the parampara, we can give that. And so it's a big task, and we've been chosen. All of us, everyone in this room. Because it says that only those who are endowed with sufficient intelligence in this age can understand Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. An endowment is like an inheritance or a scholarship. So every one of you, and everyone that lives here, and everyone who comes here, or has been here, has been given that. And we have to share it, and we have to cherish it, and pray not to lose it. So, and we should definitely consider inviting Yamars to our next Sunday feast festival.
Right.
Or Mangalarti. Anyone has anything they'd like to add, subtract, or divide, multiply? Deliberately? That's the word of the day. There was a show called Romper Room. Yeah, Romper Room. There was a word for the day. And be, a do be and a don't be. Yeah. But do be a good devotee. Hare Krishna! And for Jayapataka Maharaj one time, please, I'm begging everyone to say the Hare Krishna mantra together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You can do it. One more time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. 3 times is better. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Maharaj, Jai Jayapataka.
Hare Krishna.
The victory flag.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.